We are back. Another week of the Mush, week 7, which is very sad to say because I get so excited to record this podcast, and it just means it's another week gone of college football. Good weeks out of everyone. 5-5 for Gorney and John. Myself went 6-5. And we'll just continue to keep chipping away. For overalls, Gorney 35-34, John 28-41, and myself 36-33. So we're hanging in there. Someone's making just a little bit of money from us at some point. But we will start with the big game of the week, or one of the games of the week. Syracuse going to Florida State, 17.5.
Yeah, so Syracuse has not been playing good football recently. The offense of letting Garrett Schrader run all over the place is not working. But 17.5 is a lot of points here. I don't love it one way or another. This is not a game that, I think gets out of hand. I can see a 34-20 kind of game. Don't love it. I'm going to take the hook with 17.5. I'm going to take the Cuse on the road.
I'm obligated to do the same. Look, Florida State has, for the last couple of years, there's been this like play up or play down to the competition vibe from them. And this won't be, a heralded game for these guys, especially after some early season primetime situations. And Virginia Tech sort of hung around last week. And obviously, Syracuse is a little bit more progressed than VT. So I think they can hang around as well. And you mentioned Garrett Schrader. That's kind of the type of quarterback FSU has struggled with defensively, that dual threat type of guy. So I do think the Qs can hang around a little bit, and they've got to play better. They were awful the last couple of weeks. So I think they bounce back and keep it relatively close, but probably still lose by 10-12.
I had the opposite approach. I was like, can Florida State beat them by 21? And my answer is yes. The number 4 team could definitely cover this. I hate always going third with you guys because you guys always make great points and make me feel like my picks sometimes don't make sense to probably some people. But I'm going to take FSU. I'll take at home against Syracuse.
Yeah, I actually don't think. Let me just add. Maybe Syracuse has been figured out a little bit here. Clemson kind of dominated them a little bit, and then North Carolina just blew them out last week. They only scored 7 points against a North Carolina defense that has not been vaunted in recent years. So that's a little bit of an interesting game. I think Syracuse bounces back a little bit. I don't think Florida State loses, but 17.5 is a lot of points here. All right, let's move on.
Okay, yeah, we got Georgia going to Vanderbilt, 31.5. I was actually kind of excited for this game because I believe last week, Gorney, you talked about some stats that like Vanderbilt was similar to Georgia, right? And obviously there were some numbers that in the long run were different that separates them, but I remember there's some similarities between the two.
Yeah, in no way is Georgia and Vanderbilt the same. One is the best in the country and one is maybe the worst. But, okay, early kick, 31.5. So if Vanderbilt gets to 10, Georgia has to get to 42. That is just right there on either stay away or take Vanderbilt game. This is Georgia going into the bye week. This could be 45-0 at half, or it could be 10-0 and they win 28-3. I'm going to take the 28-3 side. I think Georgia kind of dials it back. They're coming off that huge Kentucky win when they basically showed everything they had and just completely blew Kentucky away. I know that Georgia only beat Kentucky because of NIL. That is the only reason. Mark Stoops, they bought their players. Mark Stoops said that Georgia bought all their players, and Kentucky doesn't have any money. There's definitely no money in the state of Kentucky. So that's the reason why. Of course, that's sarcasm. Georgia has beaten them 14 straight times. The average score in those games is 34-14. NIL had absolutely nothing to do with Georgia pulverizing Kentucky to a pulp last week. I don't think they do the same thing here. I think it's a comfortable 35-10 win, 42-14, something like that. I'm actually going to take the Commodores on the road. At home.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gorney. I think this is just a huge number within the conference. Vanderbilt has kind of slowly tried to improve the depth on that roster, and offensively, they've been okay this year. So I do think that they can potentially move the ball or possess the ball, which will keep Georgia off the field and points off the board, unless, of course, that defense is scoring touchdowns, which is entirely possible. So I don't want to talk myself out of it. I'll take Vanderbilt. Just too many points in the SEC.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna play it safe and stick to my rules, man. I'm just gonna stick with the Bulldogs. No real reason. It's just my rules have thankfully kept me above 500, and we'll let it ride. And I'm sad that my memory failed me of the Vanderbilt Georgia comparison, but
yeah, I don't know what I was saying there.
It was something like the offense, like how you're talking about the offense of Georgia and like how Vanderbilt and them had like similar numbers, but it was like the defense was like Vanderbilt's go like 100 points to like Georgia giving up 2, but like the offense had like similar numbers in that sense. But
possibly.
That's all right. Here, Arkansas is going to Alabama. Another kind of big line for an SEC game, 19.5.
Yeah, this is a big one, and this is sort of an interesting game because Arkansas is 4-1 in their last 5 ATS on the road in the SEC. So they're not a bad road team to bet on. I'm not crazy about this Alabama offense. I think Sam Pittman's on a little bit of a hot seat here, and I don't know if it's rightfully so. They lost by 7 to BYU, which is a tough team. They went to LSU and lost by a field goal, 12 to Texas A&M on a neutral field, and only 7 last week against Ole Miss. So this is a team that isn't really exactly like a 2-4 football team getting blown off. I just don't know if they have much gas left after 4 straight games at LSU. 4 straight losses. They play BYU, which is a tough physical team. They go to LSU. They play A&M on a neutral field. They go to Ole Miss. Now they have to go to Alabama. That's like 4 straight road games. I'm going to take the Tide here. I think it's like 28-0. I don't think it's a back and forth offensive battle. I'm just going to side with Alabama. I just don't know if the Hogs have much left in the tank.
That's a really good point. They don't have a Power 5 win, but like you said, they've kept it close every single week. That LSU game, I thought they were going to win there at the end. But yeah, that stuff wears on you. And this team outside of KJ Jefferson is not very, star laden or senior laden. So I do think that could lead to a blowout in Tuscaloosa. 19.5 feels like a huge number. So I'll probably side with the Hogs just because, they do have to continue to show that competitiveness. But it's only because I don't trust Alabama's offense, not so much I'm in line with Arkansas. So I think I'll take the Hogs on this one, but I could see it being a blowout at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. John, I was going to say, I always love your Arkansas takes. You seem like you're the only one on this podcast that always believes in them and takes them and always puts up a good argument for them. But unfortunately, but unfortunately, again, I'm sad that it had to be back-to-back games of my rules, but I got to go with Saban. Always take Saban. I hate this line, but thankfully it's not over 21, I guess, or 23 or something crazy. But I do – something seems weird about this line at 19.5, but I'll just stick with what I know. All right, a nice little Pac-12 matchup here. Oregon going to Washington, and it's just a 3-point game.
Yeah, this is the game of the week. This has tremendous college football playoff potential. Very interesting line, very interesting game, and for so many reasons. There's a sharp bet on Oregon. The public is kind of split, 54-46 Oregon, but the money is on the Huskies at home. That is very interesting. I think this is a back and forth, high scoring game. I don't know what the over-under is. I'll check it right now. It's got to be high though. I would imagine it's well into the 70s.
On
67.5. Yeah. I like the over in this game. I think it's going to be back and forth. The weather should be fine. There's some rain coming in and out of Seattle, no surprise. But on that day, on that night, it should be fine. Or there's no one way or another here. Oregon is 5-0 against the spread last 5 games. Washington is 5-0 straight up last 5 games at home. There's no real trends here. On paper, I think Oregon is a slightly better football team, but that place is going to be rocking. I think Washington can score. I'm just going to take the Huskies here. I don't absolutely love the pick, but I'm going to take them.
I'll go the other way. Like you said, I think Oregon's roster is just one small step ahead of Washington at this point, particularly on defense. I think these quarterbacks, I mean, they're like, I think literally the two most experienced quarterbacks in America. They both can light it up, dual threats, all of that fun stuff. But I just think Oregon's defense has been playing better football, particularly in the secondary. So if Washington is a little one-dimensional, I like Oregon's chances to get off the field or maybe even turn Penix over at a critical time. So I'll take Oregon. It's basically a pick 'em, but it should be definitely the best game of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a pick 'em, best game all around. And to me, the only thing it's going to come down to is who was the home team. If Oregon was home, I'm taking Oregon. But since Washington's home, I will take the Huskies. They've actually just done very well for me this year. Whenever I pick Washington, they always seem to cover and cover by a lot. I mean, Oregon's a great team, but Washington just looks really good all around. I love them at home. All right, we move on. Texas A&M going to Tennessee, and it's a 3.5-point game.
Yeah, what's interesting here is that the line opened at 7. The public jumped on it. It's gone down to 3. And the money is kind of following A&M here. I think there's just this sense that Texas A&M's defensive line is going to blow up Tennessee's offensive line and get Joe Milton to make mistakes. That is a lot to believe in. Tennessee is 7-1 against the spread last 8 games at home. And the over has hit 5 of the last 7 times A&M has been on the road. So the defense on the road is not the same defense at home. The public loves A&M here. The money's following them, which you should actually kind of trail. I'm going to take Tennessee. This is not a game that I love. I think it could go either way. I'm not entirely in love with Joe Milton or honestly that Tennessee offense in totality. It's not nearly as good as it was last year. But I'm going to take Tennessee here. The home environment, Max Johnson on the road in a big time environment in Tennessee. I think they kind of choke, and I think Tennessee pulls it out close one.
Yeah, this could be a funky game. I think this is one where it's going to be turnovers. It's going to be, a late, 70-yard bomb. There's going to be something weird at Neyland for this one. But I like A&M. I just think their defense is one step ahead. And offensively, I don't really trust either quarterback. But at least Texas A&M has a little bit of a run game and some weapons that can get the ball to, and those guys can make plays, So I'll take A&M on the road, but like you, I don't love it. I think this is a funky, voodoo, weird SEC game, so it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, games like this, I don't love. Like how you guys always said, it's a funky game. And I don't know really what to go with, so I try to be like you guys, the experts, and I try to think like Gorney and what do I think the final score would be. And every time it just always came down to a field goal. And because of that, like kind of that gut feeling, that decision, I'll just go with A&M because for some reason it just feels like a field goal game. And this is actually probably a really fun game to watch. I just have no idea. Like Gorney said, I probably do the over-under more than anything.
Yeah, what's crazy about this game is I actually do like the under. And the reason is because Tennessee running the ball is 17th nationally. They're not going to run the ball against that front. So they are 114th passing. That's incredible. That is hard to believe.
Yeah,
nationally. Yeah. So if I think the over-under is 54.5. I'm seeing a 27-17 kind of game one way or another, 27-20, 21, something like that. I just don't think it's back and forth high scoring. But I was on the under on Alabama and Georgia last week and lost both. So don't listen to
me. All right. I was gonna say also with Tennessee, like I haven't watched too many of their games. It just always seems like if Joe Milton can hit the deep ball, it's gonna be a good game for Tennessee. If they don't, it just feels like sometimes the offense can be a little lost. And obviously, you said like the run's been better, but that's what say the line just looks fishy. But we saw Joe throw in person; he just throw it just an absolute mile with ease. So it's crazy to see. Okay, Auburn is going to LSU 11.5.
Yeah, another game that is interesting here, and another one that I don't necessarily love. Sharp bet on Auburn at 11.5. I sort of get it. I think they're kind of coming into their own a little bit, but I'm taking this as a matchup of the quarterbacks. And I'm just going to take Jaden Daniels here. Auburn, Oh man, they played Georgia so well, and I think a lot of people are following in that game. But I think what we see on Saturday night, and it's not nearly as good of a defense. I think we see more of a game like Auburn played against Texas A&M 2 weeks ago, when they couldn't do nothing against Texas A&M's defense. I think LSU can score. I just don't think Auburn can keep up. So I'm going to take LSU here. I don't love it. If the game was at Auburn, I'd probably take Auburn. I'm just going to side with LSU. 11.5 is a lot of points, which means you're probably thinking that it's a lot of points, which it's not enough points. So take LSU.
Yeah, LSU can score with anybody. They've shown that all year. The problem is they can't stop anybody on the other side of the ball. But this Auburn offense, I think, will make any defense a little bit more confident. They're pretty one-dimensional. I think LSU could actually use Harold Perkins the right way and let him roll downhill in this type of game. So yeah, I think LSU can get into the 30s. I don't see Auburn getting into the 20s. So I think LSU could win this by 14. So 11.5 doesn't feel like too much.
Yeah, I don't know. The back-to-back games where I have no idea. I'd probably go the over/under. I'm actually going to take Auburn here. I like the way they looked the past couple of games. I know LSU has looked great. I mean, they barely won. Like, LSU's going to win this game, and I just hope Auburn just keeps it close, and maybe make some little mistakes on defense just to help the line. But I'll probably regret saying Auburn in this pick. But for some reason, I think they'll keep it around 7. So we move on. Miami is going to North Carolina, 3.5.
This is another one. Now, does Miami come out completely PO'd about what happened last week, or do they come out completely embarrassed and they can't stop what has been maybe an underrated North Carolina team? North Carolina has been very impressive this year. They dominated Syracuse last week. They beat Carolina by 2 touchdowns. This is a good football team. So this all depends. I'm going to have to hit up my sources inside the Miami locker room pregame before I can make my final pick here to see what's going on. What they did last week was inexcusable. I mean, it's just so dumb. I mean, it's really like peewee level football coaching. I mean, you kneel the ball down and the game is over. Instead, you're handing the ball off, and Shannon Dawson said it was his fault, and Cristobal said it was his fault. It's everybody's fault. I actually think I saw some clips. I think Cristobal said, why don't we kneel this out? And then Alex Mirabal is yelling, kneel, kneel, kneel. And Shannon Dawson is calling running plays. It's just so dumb. So I just don't know if they lost the locker room because of it, or if they come out and kick North Carolina's ass. I just don't know. Because of that, I'm going to take Carolina at home. Their offense can score against anybody.
Yeah, I agree with Carolina's offense. I think they'll be able to put up points, but yeah, Miami just so many things went wrong even before that point. Tyler Van Dyke threw a bunch of picks. There was a game where you just kept turning it on like, is Georgia Tech still hanging around? Oh, they are. So I'll watch a little bit more. It was just kind of Miami's dud game, even before the mental issues that went down at the end of it. So they've got to bounce back. And I do think the strength of this Hurricane team is the pass rush and the secondary. So that does sort of line up with Drake May. So I'll take the U in a bounce back. They've been really good outside of that game, and they'll have a huge chip on their shoulder as per usual.
I was actually going to almost make this my lock of the week for North Carolina just because of the Miami Georgia Tech game. And I agree, Gorney. I don't know what Miami's going to really do coming out of this, how they're going to rebound, and that definitely scared me. But I'm definitely going to take North Carolina in the end. And I agree, they're definitely an underrated team. I think they should kind of be higher than 12. But Drake's awesome. That whole that offense is very explosive, and they'll and I love them at home. So I'll give me North Carolina. All right, another big matchup of the week. USC is going to Notre Dame, 2.5.
Yes. So this is one of the best rivalries in college football. There's a sharp bet on Notre Dame. The public slightly likes Notre Dame. There's been some money coming in on USC to flip it. So the money is slightly flipped to USC. Now let's look at the numbers.
Gorney, I was gonna say, was there any weather issues? Because I saw on social media that the coaches were using water spray, like water bottles, to spray
Yes,
the punt
there
returners.
will be showers
Practice.
in the area, 40 to 50% chance of showers, which leads me to think Notre Dame has the edge there. But for the sharp bettors out there, weather means the offense has the advantage, believe it or not. That means the defense has to turn and run in wet weather against a guy who's going straight. That is good for the offense. That means USC. I'm taking USC, and here's why. Notre Dame is 6-1 in his last 7 games at home. Their only loss in that time was when they had 10 people on the field against Ohio State. Okay, that's fine. Notre Dame 5-0 straight up in its last 5 games when playing at home against USC. Now, bettors look at that and go, man, USC sucks on the road at Notre Dame. You have to remember these were the years of Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, and Clay Helton. Lincoln Riley's offense is far superior. Notre Dame's defense has been very, very good, but USC's offense is faster than anything they've ever seen, far faster than Ohio State and what they tried to do there. I'm taking USC. The pressure they're going to put on that Notre Dame defense all night is going to be too great. If the winds start howling and the rain starts going, then I might change my pick later. It's only supposed to be showery, some storms maybe. Nothing too bad. USC.
Look, USC played their dud game maybe last week, right? So you expect one of those, even if you're a very good team and you got to find a way to win it. They did. I just think mentally they're at a better place than Notre Dame. We talked about Arkansas going through a gauntlet. Notre Dame has also gone through one over the last month or so. So even though they're at home, I think USC has too much offensive firepower. Even if it's just Caleb Williams with, a minute 20 left at the end, I like the Trojans' chances there. So give me USC on the road and a really big win for Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's kept up, I feel like I've rode Notre Dame to this 5-2 record, and I really wanted to take them, but the fact that SC gets the points, their offense will score. Like Gorney said, like if it's going to be any kind of weather, it's going to be an offensive game, and SC will definitely pull out the win and keep it around. But it kills me to just go against Notre Dame like that because I have sweated out a lot of games from them. I'm not even going to take them in the big one. So, all right, North Carolina State is now going to Duke. 3 points.
What a thriller! What a thriller we got here. So
you got to throw one of them.
A couple of backup QBs slinging it.
Jeez, this should have been our opener before. I don't know. I just don't. No feel on this game. Like John said, backup quarterbacks. North Carolina State's 10-2 straight up the last 12 times they've played Duke, but Duke is a much better team than North Carolina State is right now. I think that, I like what Elko is doing there. They don't have Riley Leonard, but still, I think that they kind of eke out a win here. Not a game I'm interested at all. It might be on the CW, which I see is now covering some games. So I'm just not into this. I'll take Duke just because I think they're probably better.
Man, the Pac-12 couldn't even get CW. Look, I think this is an ugly, low-scoring game. Take the under. I think it's 45 on the Yahoo Sportsbook. Look, Duke at home, defense, Mike Elko, just better prepared. NC State, I just don't know. They've been way too up and down at this point. And three is fine, even with a backup. Duke can run the football, and we know they can play defense. So I'll take the Blue Devils.
Look, was I not aware that it was a bunch of backup quarterbacks playing? Sure. And I just wanted to give some love to some other teams that we didn't talk about. And you know what? I'll own it. And sometimes my picks for the weeks are not always perfect. But we'll move past this, and I'm just going to take Duke, and hopefully we all just get the win and we move on. All right. We wrap it up with UCLA going to Oregon State, 3.5.
Yes, UCLA. Now, Dante Moore will be very, very good, but he has thrown some bad interceptions so far this year, and I'm not thrilled about it, especially because I had them at Utah a few weeks ago. They beat Washington State last week. Good win, but a come-from-behind win. They had to really kind of make some things happen in the fourth quarter there to get the cover. I'm looking for the trends in this game. I think it's an interesting one because UCLA is 5-0 against the spread the last 5 times that they've played in Corvallis. So while many teams have had trouble playing there, UCLA has not. They've won 5 of the last 6 there, and they've covered 5 straight times. But Oregon State is 10-1 against the spread in the last 11 games at home. I think this is an interesting game, not one I would be too thrilled about betting, but based on trends and a sharp bet on UCLA, I'm going to take the Bruins here. I think they win outright.
Yeah, toss-up game. Look, Oregon State's at home. I think DJU is coming into his own. I think he played his best game last week. I'll take Oregon State. Just, veteran versus freshman QB, 2 really good defenses. So that home field advantage, I do think, will show itself before that game ends. But I could see it going either way for sure. But I'll take the Beavers.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Oregon State here. I think they're a pretty good football team. We've had some good success every time we take them. Dante's still a freshman. He always kind of he's looked really good and really bad. And in the end, I think DJ with that team will hold it out and take the win. So let's wrap it up with locks of the week. John, I didn't miss one, right? You didn't say one earlier, right?
Nope.
Neither do you, Gorney. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead, Gorney. You want to start it with your D3 pick of the week or what?
All right. Let me paint a picture here for you guys. The Troy Trojans, okay? They are 4-2. They only give up 2.9 yards per carry, 86 rushing yards a game. They are in a perfect position because they are going to Army. And what does Army do? Yes, they are changing up the offense a little bit. They've passed the ball 79 times in 5 games. They've run it 237 times. They're going to try to run the ball against Troy, but Troy's front will say no. Troy, just like South Alabama last week, was the perfect pick. Troy is the perfect pick this week, and for other reasons as well, which I'm calling up right now. Hold on. Troy, 15-2 straight up in its last 17 games, 7-1 ATS last eight times on the road. They're not going to West Point to get slaughtered by the Army. They're going to make Army one-dimensional. Plus, the public likes the Army. I don't like the Army. I like Troy. All the money's on Troy. Sharp bet on Troy. Troy's the play. Easiest money of the week.
Love that. I'll go to the ACC with a little more familiarity. Look, Louisville's been awesome this year, right? They had the one dud game, but they found a way to win it against NC State. Obviously, the huge win over Notre Dame last week with that great defense. And now they go to Pitt. So I was kind of scrolling the lines here. 7.5. Not too much to ask for the Cardinals going to Pitt. Pitt's 1-4. They don't know what they're doing offensively. And Louisville finally looks like it's figured its offense out with balance and that running attack, along with a great defense. Those two things travel. 7.5, not scary. I don't know if Pitt gets to 14 in this game. And I think Louisville can comfortably get into the 20s. So my lock of the week is Louisville on the road minus 7.5 at Pitt.
Okay, I'm going to go. I'll try to mix it up. I'm going to go James Madison. They're going against Georgia Southern. James Madison 5-0. They have won some pretty good games. I mean, obviously, good for them. They got Virginia, Troy, Utah State, South Alabama. I mean, nothing great. Georgia Southern, it does have a good record. They did lose to Wisconsin and beat Citadel, UAB, just whatever. And the line's only 6. I think it's not scary at all. I think James Madison has looked good all year, at least with the spread. And I always feel like I always see their highlights every Saturday throughout the game, throughout the Saturday broadcasts of how they're doing in big plays. So I'll switch it up. Give me James Madison. But with that has been the Mush. Myself, Adam Gorney, John Garcia Jr. Please follow us please follow all our handles on all the platforms. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll try to do my best to either respond or ask the guys on the show. But until next time, we'll see you guys week 8. Thank you.